Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak on this Sabasaba Day, 35 years since the very first one in 1990. And of course, looking at the gains, the progress, the challenges that the country witnesses, and we'll be getting to that conversation shortly. Before then, so there's a fund that has been running for 22 years. That is the National Government Constituency Development Fund. It's at the brink of collapse after the High Court ruled that come 30th of June 2026, that is at the close of the current financial year, it must wind up and everything else called CDF must cease. But to avert that predicament, the National Assembly has gone ahead to amend the Constitution, to propose an amendment which has already been passed by the National Assembly to introduce three key funds. That is the NGCF, National Government Constituency Fund, there is the Senate Oversight Fund, and there is the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, all which will be instituted to make sure that they can save the NGCDF. So the National Assembly was able to pass that amendment last week. We should be waiting for the Senate to consider it. They'll have at least 90 days before getting to the second reading in accordance with the Constitution. Mheshimiwa Mbui, we saw the House quite united this time round. Rare sign of unity. Why do you have to save a fund that has been deemed unconstitutional?
Yes, thank you for the question. But please allow me just to finish off this other conversation.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we've had this conversation about the church in State House. But the problem is, instead of dealing with the real issues that are coming out from the public, the Kenya Kwanza regime has gone on an onslaught. You will listen to the president, and their propaganda machine is working overtime. Now they're talking about bars instead of dealing with this issue. You've had the issue of the distance to church. And my question would be, if, I mean, about a kilometer distance to a church, by a head of state who's got a motorcade and vehicles fueled by public coffers, and nobody asks him where he's going. I mean, why would we be dealing with that? Considering the biggest problem is it a priority right now as a country for us to be spending money building a church for government when we have not given enough capitation for our children? He knows that.
But he says it's his own money.
His own money. Why would he be spending his own money on public land? Isn't that a form of grabbing public land? Because why would you use your public resources to put up something on public land which has not been approved? You mean
personal resources?
If it's personal resources, then why would he be putting personal resources on public land? That also it doesn't make sense, because that's not his property. I would want to imagine it's public funds, because that's public property. So if he's using his own money, then really he's again breaching the law. I mean, why would you spend your own money and put up things, personal things, because this is a personal arrangement on public land. But my problem is the issue of prioritization, whether it is his own money or not. Even when he had his own money and he was dishing it out in churches, the same young generation was annoyed and very unhappy, because they say they have no jobs, their capitation in schools is failing, our health system has issues. So when they see you spend money on certain things that you have like 10 churches around you, but you have to put up a new one, then that just means that we are being extravagant, and that's what they didn't want. That is display of opulence.
Opinion, because we've seen the pictures of that church, is there any justification to upgrade it?
Personally, I think the issue of a church in State House for me is a no. Because if you want to do a church, then you have to do churches for all denominations. That's how, because this is a house, the seat of power for the whole country. And Kenya is made up of very many denominations, including the Hindus. So it doesn't make sense that you can go and put up one particular church. So I think that's why I'm saying, if you are a Christian and maybe you're a Protestant, maybe you're a Catholic, you could have a prayer room within the house of the State House, and pray there with your family. But to put up a church, I think for me that is a no-go.
Okay.
But somehow the issue of NGCDF and this proposal that we have brought to the House.
Yep.
Yes, it is true that the courts of law said that NGCDF is unconstitutional. They have been citing the fact that members of parliament are involved. And strangely, if you read the act, you realize members of parliament have not mentioned at all. So that surprises me when we know courts of competent jurisdiction in the country keep making a mistake and repeating something that is really not true, because we amended this act in, I think, 2015, removed members of parliament, amended it even further.
Yeah.
We've kept making amendments so that we conform to the rulings of the court, because we also don't want to operate against the law.
Yeah.
But the real problem, Sam, and which Kenyans must know, is that this is not a fund for members of parliament. I think that's the biggest myth, and that is why you find members of county assembly, maybe sometimes the senators and other leaders would be fighting members because of that fund. The real thing is that this is a fund that equalizes the whole country in terms of constituencies. Some look at it this way: remove CDF from the picture. I have been in parliament from 2013. I'm serving my 3rd term. I have been able, through having CDF in the constituency and having a committee that manages a fund, and being able to participate in public participation and to check what is going on, I've been able to see the constituency grow.
Yeah.
And every year, there is at least 100 million that goes to Kathiani constituency to assist in the development of that constituency. Now, of course, I take pride because it is a constituency I represent. So when I see things being done, when projects are done, I even go there and commission them. I don't put my name in projects, but I go and commission projects on behalf of CDF as a representative of the people. But you see now, Sam, the reality is that this money is helping to develop our schools infrastructure. It is helping to develop security infrastructure. It helps to give the needy bursaries, so that those that come from very poor backgrounds are able to still go to school. And I have seen that happen in Kathiani constituency over the period I've been a member of parliament. If there was no CDF, I have been, unfortunately, and this was not my wish, been in the opposition all this time. So I went in with Chord Coalition. We believed Baba was going to be the president. The votes were counted. We didn't make it. I ended up in the minority. We came back with NASA, we changed the system, brought in Musalia. We were now better and stronger, Went out there again, we campaigned very seriously. Again, the votes were not enough. This last time we were in Azimio. Now we were in government. We knew now there's no problem. We are taking this thing early morning. I don't know what happened again. We were not in government. Although we had majority again was taken away from us. So if we didn't have CDF, I can tell you in that period I have been a member of parliament, it would have been very little development would have come to Kathiani constituency. So this is a fund that equalizes, whether you are in majority or minority, whether you're on the side of government or the side that doesn't form government, you still get resources. So you remove that, you suddenly create an inequality.
But Mheshimiwa Mbui, well, on that point, the High Court has persistently said, and I think the Supreme Court also and the Court of Appeal, that the constituency is a unit for elections, to elect a member of parliament and broadly to elect a president, not a unit for service delivery.
Sam, then what is a county? Isn't it also a unit for election and at the same time for development? Because governors are elected.
The structure of governance in Kenya is national government and devolved.
Exactly. And so this is what we are saying. Let me tell you this, Sam. Yes, we have the national government and we have the county government.
Yeah.
Nothing stops a county government from doing their development agenda through the wards. Nothing stops them. There are actually some counties in Kenya that are doing development through the wards, because you have to balance out the region that you are in charge of. So the national government can actually do their development through and that's exactly what has been happening. National government has been doing development through constituencies, because then you're balancing out. You go to the constitution and you realize that the constituency is a unit of representation, but by all intents and purposes, the constitution wants to try and balance them out. That's why the number of members, of voters and all that, they try to balance them out so that, we kind of have almost similar units. So that's an easy way by which the national government can reach out to the far corners of the country and take development there. Before NGCDF, there was no development in some parts of this country completely.
I'll get you on that question. But when you say that if there was no CDF, with you being in the opposition, Kathiani wouldn't have gotten any assistance or development, yet resources are shared by your house, the National Assembly.
Incidentally, some that is the truth, because you look at the way resources are shared. There is also an influence by not only the Treasury, but also the ministry, the relevant ministries. Our budget for your information is not itemized to the level where it's in the individual project in every individual place. There's a lot of money that goes in lump sum to the ministries, and they make certain decisions. So it would have been a tall order for a member of parliament representing a region that is perceived to be in the opposition.
Is there last mile connectivity in Kathiani?
Sorry?
Last mile connectivity, is there?
Yes, there is, but you wouldn't compare Kathiani constituency with Mwala, where the former, the former chair of energy committee is the area representative. I mean, it's between. It's actually the difference is between night and day.
So is it a fault of our structure, or it's abuse by those in office?
Well, it is abused by those in office, but then you cure it the minute you create a situation where you balance out the resource allocation.
Does CDF cater for last mile connectivity?
No, it doesn't.
Still not cured. So the question is, should chairpersons of committees have the power to allocate resources to their constituencies?
They don't allocate directly. The money goes to the ministries, but they have the influence.
Okay.
Yes.
No, Siri is making noise. Apologies for that. Mheshimiwa Koech, talk to us about that question. And now that you're chair of defense, there must be so much success in your constituency. Going by what am I doing?
Building a barracks in Belgrade?
I don't know what you're building. Tell me.
This is where I'll agree with Robert. And first of all, it's very sorry for Robert, because he said for 3 attempts trying to be in power, but they've been very unsuccessful. I still feel for him, because they will have another attempt that will not be successful.
God will be with us.
But he's a good man, so I hope that he finds favor.
He has another attempt?
Even when in opposition. Yeah, they're making another attempt
okay.
to be in power. Let me tell you some. Most of the structures, infrastructure that you see anywhere in this country, largely will be attributed to CDF. 21 years ago, when it was introduced by Engineer Karue, and where we are today, I want to say that it's been a success in paying for school fees for those who cannot afford, in building of infrastructure in schools, and general change in constituencies. 4 trillion has been used since counties, the creation of counties. 21 years ago, CDF was introduced. Today, if you go across the constituencies, the most significant and prominent infrastructure that we will notice are those ones that have been built by NGCDF. Now, it was prudent that we have it in the Constitution. And like Robert is saying, we've had a situation where the courts, we've been trying to conform with several court rulings, but we have reached a point that we are saying, why can't we have it as a Constitution, so we don't have to have an issue again with the courts? This motion was sponsored by 2 brilliant gentlemen who have a combined legal expertise that spans over 65 years. One of those gentlemen participated in promulgation of this new constitution. That is Otiendo Molo and Chepkonga Samuel. The funds that are supposed to be incorporated in the constitution is, number one, it's going to be called National Constituency Fund, NGCF, and then we have Senate Oversight Fund, and then of course we have these ones for women reps, that is a National Constituency Government Affirmative Fund. Let me start with the Senate. Why do I have a problem with the counties that have received 4 trillion worth of money, and there isn't much that can be seen? It is because senators have not been able to fully oversight the counties. And we want to provide that fund so that at least we are able to understand how these monies have been used. Let them have a full view of what is happening in our counties and put into account those who are responsible with that particular kitty of 4 trillion. In terms of National Constituency Fund, it's been a huge success. Robert is saying that if he did not have this kit, probably some of the students in the constituency will not have gone to school.
Probably the system would have worked better because he'd have been busy oversighting the executive.
The change that has been brought by NG-CDF is monumental.
Yeah.
In fact, many of us, let me speak for myself. Why was I re-elected in last general election? It is purely because in last general election, we were where Robert is now. We were facing the force of the government of the day. We permanently had run-ins with the police and different issues. But the prudent use of NG-CDF is what brought me back to Parliament, because we were able to build schools. We were able to modernize infrastructure.
I mean, he said you have no role with the CDF, yet it's what...
We have no role, but as a member of Parliament, I'm able to advise the Constituency Development Fund that, please, we have a primary school here that needs to be constructed.
And don't you see that's the problem?
It is not the problem. Because what happens is that the proposal is given to member of Parliament. Listen, Sam, let us not also be too strict about the application of the law. You are speaking as if you are speaking to a congressman in the US whose role is purely
And isn't that the problem?
In Kenya, no. I am a mobile...
You're amending the Constitution.
Yes.
If you succeed to amend the Constitution, you'd want Kenyans to respect that Constitution.
Absolutely.
Which creates NGCF.
Absolutely.
But as it is now, you're not honoring it because the Constitution, which you're saying that it should not be strict, but strictly says you represent the people of Belgut.
Yes.
You legislate, and then you oversight the national government.
Yes.
Why would you want to be the one telling the project committee in Belgut, there's a school here, there's a school there? They are the feet on the ground.
Let me tell you how actually it happens.
Yeah.
We do something in my constituency. This is what we do. We do a public participation. So I have a team that goes to every village, and they sit with that village and say, what do you want this year to be your priority in terms of the utilization of CDF fund? People will say...
Which team is this?
We have a team from the NG-CDF manager
committee
comes from the CDF board.
Yep.
Is delegated to you.
Yes.
So that is a government employee. So there is a committee also that is formed, the NG-CDF committee, that is actually gazetted. And they work for a period, I think, of about 2.5 years. So we go around and collect views from the public. It's a sort of a public participation. It's very engaging utilization of this fund.
Do you need to be there?
I've never been there. I don't need to be there.
But you're telling you have a team.
No, part of that team is from the NG-CDF board. So they go around and say, okay, today we want a school in this place. Tomorrow we want a police station here. We want a chief's office here, and also and so on and so forth. So that then is captured. And as a member of Parliament, I think it is important because I am the one who engages with the people. I've been elected. And that is a fund that, we somehow are able to advise the people that we represent that, this is how you need to utilize. These are some of the proposals that you need to give to them if you want then that you are factored in this year.
What is that structure? You're talking about you advise the people of the constituencies. How do you do that?
When I go for public meetings and I'm asked by the public that we want a primary school, you have to guide them on how it is done. If they tell me, in fact, many times you are even told that we want a dispensary, which is not our function. So you have to direct them and say, no, that is a function of the county government. So when they come here, you can discuss with them. So anyway, that is how it is handled. Largely, if you look at it, Sam, then all these funds, if we are able to utilize them properly, it is a game changer. Okay,
so this is Senate Oversight, before I get to Honorable Mboye. This Senate Oversight Fund, do you have an estimate of how much you're looking at?
We were looking at Senate Oversight Fund, every county, I think every senator, I'm not sure, I'll check during the break the percentage of that will be taken by the entire Senate.
Yeah.
But if you break it down to every county, I think every senator monthly has about is it 1.5 million?
1.5 M.
Or 5 million. One of the two.
No, it's about 1 million. just slightly about a million.
Yeah, maybe around 1.5.
So how are they to use that money?
No, that is where we are.
No, surely you cannot create a fund that you have not thought out thoroughly of how it's going to be implemented. And you see, please give me an answer for that.
You know, there's a lot of work that is done by the senators and in terms of oversight. I might not be accurate on how they intend to use that fund, but that fund should enable them to perform the functions of oversighting. I'm sure some of it will.
How so, please?
I'm sure some of it will be used to probably recruit more staff to go into different areas of the county. You find that some counties are extremely vast.
Where do they need to go to the counties?
If you are told today, for instance, that we have a dispensary somewhere let me use my county for instance in Kericho. Kericho, there is far-flung areas that are off within the Kericho's town.
Yes.
And you want, probably Senator Aaron Cheriot wants to make sure that what has been reported in the Senate is what is on the ground. That needs people to physically be there to, to make sure that what has been said and reported is exactly.
But Parliament has a budget that includes the Senate, don't they?
Not for oversight.
For committees.
No. What do you mean? I mean, Parliament is funded by the Exchequer to run its programs, including what the Senate needs to do.
You must remember that we have committees in Parliament. We have committees that we will probably sit in different meetings. Committees that, we probably sometimes invite or even visit different areas. But is there a specific fund then that is used to make sure that you're able to reach? So
if money is not sufficient, why not raise the allocation for Parliament? Don't get a percentage from the national government. What is that?
What is wrong in having...
Sorry. Yeah. You get an allocation from the national government to oversight a county function?
I didn't see a problem with that, Sam. And I'm sure the functions of Senate Oversight Fund, like I said, I might not be accurate on the functions because, I wish Anyonka was here to explain also how they want to do it. I've never been a senator. All I'm saying is that I have a belief that this is what will be used to make sure that they are able to do their job much better.
Mheshimiwa, do you believe in that you actually need a Senate Oversight Fund for Senate to be able to do its work, knowing too well that the primary oversight of the counties is by the county assemblies? They are the ones who are involved in the nitty-gritties of the work. Senate Oversight can get reference from the assemblies, but also, more importantly, from reports of independent officers that oversight some of these other institutions.
Some first and foremost, you must remember that, senators have a role of making sure that the money, the huge amounts of money that go to counties are utilized properly. I'll give you an example. Recently, there was a young man who would go around the country. And by the way, became extremely popular. Going around the country, he would go to a project, a dispensary, and take photos and say, look, this is a dispensary, was allocated this much money. This is 2-3 years down the road, and the records show that this project is completed, but you can see grass is growing on the inside. I mean, let me say that when a senator has the funds, then and remember, some of these senators have up to 12 constituencies that they are oversighting. Now, if you say that the senator sits in the city of Nairobi and waits for reports from the county assemblies, then what happens if the report doesn't capture the real nitty-gritties on the ground? Because sometimes there are actually projects. When they do the normal audit, I'll give you this as an example. When they do the normal audit, when the Controller and Auditor General goes to audit, they don't actually visit all projects. They just pick a sample. So they might pick 2 or 3 or 4 projects in the county. But then the senator, as a representative of the people, whenever he's on the ground, he gets this information all the time. So if you facilitate him, then it means he's able to move around. Secondly, he's able to have a team that can even process what he comes across. If he's told this dispensary here has taken too long, he can have a team that can go and identify when the tender was issued, how much the tender was, and then a team that can probably even do the valuation to see whether the amount of money allocated is adequate or was less or was even more. So I think there is quite a lot of work that a Senate officer can, a senator can do if facilitated properly. Because at the end of the day, many are the times when, the senator senator will only be able to, visit projects when the governor is launching them. But then what about all those toll projects, and how does he get to deal with all of them?
If he's able to collect information, what does he do with that information?
Then he will take it to Senate. Otherwise, right now,
what?
He will take it to Senate as information collected from his county on the matters that are an issue.
The National Assembly, they work with committees.
Yes, we do.
So there's no committee of one person, is there?
But he can present that to the committees. He can support the committees.
How are they to test that that is the accurate information? It's not a product of...
Now that is now where the committee comes in. If he goes and points out the areas of concern, but facilitating a senator to be able to go around his county, I think is a noble idea. I don't see any problem with that at all.
Don't senators get mileage allowance, which has actually been enhanced lately?
For your information, the mileage allowance is to take them to their homes, not for oversight. Because when you talk about oversight, you're talking about him driving all over the county. What he has is a facilitation to go to his home and back to Parliament. But we are talking about him moving around from constituency to constituency, checking projects, meeting the people. That is what we are talking about.
Then why not facilitate them as such under the allocation of Parliament?
That can also be done, but you see, I think when we are thinking about facilitation of the people that are in the House, members of National Assembly, to ensure that their constituencies are properly sorted out. They call it GAF, the women reps, to ensure that the funds that go to the women and the youth in the counties are sorted out, and the senators to ensure that they are able to do their work properly. I think that was a noble idea. We wanted to make sure that everybody is on board and that everybody is able to support the problem
is, Mheshimiwa Mbui, Parliament already in this current financial year is getting 47 billion shillings as an allocation. Judiciary is about 27, and judiciary is across the country. So you want now to bring a Senate Oversight Fund, which we are not clear on the amount. I mean, surely, why not just deal with the allocations to Parliament, utilize the resources better? Because when you create funds that looks like this is in compliance with the letter from the President in December 2022, what is the National Assembly doing?
Actually, there is really, there are many ways of killing a rat. What you have just said is that there is an alternative. Instead of having the fund, the money can be allocated through the parliamentary, whatever, budget. But we didn't opt to do that. We opted to do it directly in the future. Currently, actually, for your information, they are getting facilitated. For your information, they're getting facilitated from the budget allocated to Parliament. But we were thinking that it might be a better idea that there be a fund specifically set aside for that purpose. Otherwise, they're getting the facilitation as we talk now.
Wow. So what is the essence, Mheshimiwa Koech? This looks like it's a sweetener for the Senate to agree with you to make NGCF.
It can be a sweetener because they already have it.
That's what I'm saying.
We're just trying to encourage, because you see even NGCDF is a very noble fund, in my opinion. And if you go, even if you take it to a referendum, majority Kenyans will support it, and we know that. But then it has been called unconstitutional. It has been called, a way of, a facilitation for looting by members of Parliament. All sorts of things have been said, and it ends up going to court. So even though the Senate is being facilitated through parliamentary budget, again, somebody might end up in court, and then that process is stopped, and our senators end up sitting in the city waiting for reports that take forever and sometimes don't capture the essence.
You just said they're being facilitated. Mheshimiwa Koech, is it
facilitated to go to their homes, not to go around the counties? There's a big difference.
All right, there's a big difference. Though I thought, you're the people who have the pulse of the country. There's so much you can do with it. Mheshimiwa Koech, isn't that just a sweetener? The key thing here is NGCF, isn't it?
What you must remember, Sam, is that we did public participation for this bill in all the 290 constituencies.
Yeah.
And we received an overwhelming affirmation that we should have it in the Constitution. In fact, actually, many still believe that they will even want their input given, and people still want to even subject it to referenda. That's something that is still moot, that's still out there, that people want. Probably. I don't know.
Would it be necessary if Senate agrees with you?
No.
If the public feels that they want a referendum.
No. I mean, it's not about feelings. It's about the Constitution.
Yeah. If the Senate agrees with that, then it's in the Constitution. What I'm saying is that people would have even felt, a bit more comfortable if we had had it in and it would have been voted anyway.
Is it possible to have an unconstitutional amendment through a constitutional process?
No, of course not.
What I'm saying, okay, let me take it again, because you're saying that you can involve the people. Indeed, you said that in your public participation, 98% agreed that NGCF should stay.
98.5.
98.5.
Yes.
Sorry for that huge mistake. 98.5 agreed with the fund. Yet the High Court has said it's unconstitutional because constituencies are not units of service delivery, but units of representation. So you take it through the process as laid out in the Constitution, yet it's an unconstitutionality you're passing. Isn't that possible?
No,
or you think once you enact it, it's okay?
No, the process was constitutional. That is why we engaged. We did public participation. And I'm saying most of the issues that you've raised, actually, were dealt with by experts at the point of public participation. These questions were raised. Why will you need a Senate oversight fund, for instance? Why do you need GAF? Why do you need CDF? And at that point, most of those issues were addressed.
Yeah.
So we are comfortable at this point that Senate will be able to adopt it. It's not. I don't think this is carrot and what do you call it? Carrot and stick situation for them to have them approve this bill. I think we've done a good job. And what is happening on the ground in regards to the use and utilization of CDF can be confirmed by many out there.
Dr. Masibo, our lecturer, is asking, do members of the National Assembly receive an oversight fund to oversight the national government?
We don't, because the constituency is a small unit. I mean, it's easy for me to traverse the constituency. Number two, we have this fund now, this National Constituency Fund, which allows us to engage with the public. And then sometimes it's been...
but the question is about oversight.
Let me talk about practicability.
National Assembly needs a National Assembly Oversight Fund, don't you?
Sam, you know what people have never cracked is that we never get involved with directly with the fund. Many people don't understand how...
That's what I'm saying. If senators are getting money to oversight counties, you should also get something to oversight the National Assembly, the national government, shouldn't you?
Should we really burden the public with that?
So why do you want to burden the public with Senate oversight?
I am sure at this point, when we go to budget and we see that it is a double allocation for them, we can retire one fund and have this one that is constitutional.
Once it's in the Constitution, how do
this is constitutional, but what you're talking about is another fund. You're saying there's another fund that Senate is utilizing, okay? Then you can retire that one and have this one that is constitutional operational.
Okay,
There's nothing that denies us from doing that.
All right, Mheshimiwa, we'll wait to see. Of course, a few senators have said that they're not going to agree with you. Some have said they do not want the fund. They are just okay doing their work. There are those that have said that there are three things to do: representation, legislation, and oversight, and they're happy doing what they are doing. We'll wait and see what happens, despite the fact that the courts have already expressed themselves on that particular matter. So the big question is, if Parliament succeeds to amend the Constitution, can the judiciary say that that is unconstitutional? That's a question for the future.
The Constitution cannot be unconstitutional.
You know, we were here before during the BBI conversations. If you recall,
a process that was...
If you recall, there was a member of Parliament, Malcolm Maure, who used to say, because they were going ahead and demarcating constituencies for different regions, and they were saying it may be unconstitutional now, but once the amendment is done, it will not be unconstitutional. But the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, and the High Court were very clear that you cannot demarcate because that is the work of the IEBC. And eventually that would have still, even if it had followed the procedure, it would have still been unconstitutional. But we'll wait and see. Let's go back to our conversation earlier on the